What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. I'm your host, Nick Tognietti. Today, we're going to talk about breast plants and complications, as you can probably see from the title. Now, this, quite frankly, is not talked about enough. And you know what? I think it's probably just because it's a little bit newer in the revelation or connection between, hey, I feel like crap. Huh, could this be due to my breast implants? And then you never really know until the women get them out and then they're thriving, right? I'll just speak from a very practical example. You know, me, I'm a 31-year-old male, right? And starting at 18, I got into the bodybuilding world. I was top five at Mr. Texas. I was the youngest bodybuilding judge in the history of the sport by 23 years old, all of these different things. So I was in a world filled with beautiful women with breast implants and the lust of the flesh. Before I was a believer, the lust of the flesh obviously loves that and desires that and is very vain towards that and everything else. So I used to just be a major fanatic for fake boobs and all of that stuff. And then even after I became a believer, I was like, oh yeah, no, I like them, blah blah blah. But then the more I got into functional medicine and functional nutrition and just continuing to do my studies and research and coming across different clients and seeing different case studies and all these things. And then the more your heart gets changed by the Lord, you start to realize, hey, I don't even want those things anymore for women. I don't even care about them or like them. I want to like women and love women for, or a woman for whom they are and what they bring to the table. Just, I wouldn't want a woman to just want me because, oh yeah, like I don't take steroids, but I used to in bodybuilding, right? Oh yeah, no, I want him to have steroids so he has big muscles, so I'm attracted to him. That would make me feel like crap. And then also you're wanting me to do something that's unhealthy to please your vanity, and that's how a lot of men and husbands are today. In fact, I know women who want to get their breast implants out, and the husband, I'm actually literally thinking of people in my mind right now who've literally said, hey, no, I like your breast implants. I like your boobs that way, even though they know their wives are struggling. And so it's okay, we're living in such a vain culture today, right? And with that said, we're talking about silicone, and this is universally understood that they cause a lot of issues. Now, is it universally understood that they universally cause issues? No, no, that's not true. Like, we can't say, hey, every person universally that has breast implants is going to have issues or does have issues, because that's just not, we see that all the time, that generally that's not reality. Or maybe they are having issues, but they're just underestimating them or whatever. We don't have enough research to be like, yeah, universally, every person that has them is going to have an issue. No, but it is universally accepted by medical professionals, or a good one that has common sense anyway, that there are many women, and it's becoming more prevalent than ever, that do have issues with that, right? Like, you shouldn't, unless they're a biased person trying to get your money. You should never hear a medical professional or a functional practitioner say, no, yeah, no, there's no way it's going to ever cause an issue. It's okay. The only person that's probably saying that is the surgeon who's doing them and making the 10 grand from you. But like I said, from a balanced perspective, it's universally accepted that these cause issues, these silicone implants. And so I have multiple clients, multiple friends, and also my fiance who used to have them. And they started getting autoimmunes and they started getting depressed. They started getting adrenal and cortisol imbalances that would literally make them so depressed, it would put them into bed and they wouldn't be able to get out of bed. They wouldn't want to have sex. They'd have all of these hormonal imbalances and all these things. And I can literally list people who have gotten those removed and they felt like a brand new person. In fact, one of the women I know, she calls them demon bags. She goes, these are straight from the devil. It's just a it's just a fulfilling of the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. The three things that the Bible says to beware of. But why? Because the silicone is being reviewed or viewed by your body as a foreign substance. So if it's being viewed as a foreign substance, what's going to happen is your immune system is going to start dispatching ROS, reactive oxygen species, or RNS, reactive nitrogen species. And these are inflammatory responses to quote unquote destroy the invaders. During that time of destroying invaders, it can also do collateral damage and start to hit healthy tissue, which is why we get autoimmunes and whatnot. I always say your immune system's not working against you. You're working against it by not allowing it or giving it an environment to calm down. This is why autoimmunes are so reversible. I've reversed them plenty of times, and I've even reversed them in myself. And so it's why we see so many with Hashimoto's go into remission. What are you doing? You're reversing your autoimmune. Okay. But what happens when that happens as well is cortisol starts to go up. Remember, cortisol is a stress hormone. It's also your energy hormone. So it goes up in the morning to give you energy. What? To utilize glucose and efficiency so that you can start to have energy to wake up and get out of bed. Okay. But it's a stress hormone as well, because whenever you're stressed, what do you need? You need more energy to run from the tiger, from that stress that you're under. That's how your body's reviewing stress. It doesn't care if it's because you're getting ready for a math midterm or if you literally have a gun to your head. It doesn't know the difference. It doesn't care about the difference. The fact is the body's stressed and you need energy. So whenever we talk about stress, we're talking about three things: mental and emotional stress. Okay. We're talking about number two, physical stress, like overtraining, under eating, not sleeping, things like that. And then number three, chemical stress. So putting chemicals and germs and things into your body that are viewed as foreign invaders, keeping them there and living that as a lifestyle is going to influence your adrenals to produce more cortisol because they're stressed, which then will cause more inflammation. And then you get a plethora of symptoms, from cortisol issues to thyroid disorders to autoimmunes and all of those things, being that cortisol is essentially the root of every one of those. The thing that we have to understand with breast implants, and I'm going to end up having another podcast with multiple women that have had this experience so that you can hear it directly from them. For now, you can hear it from the practitioner that reverses these things, fixes these things, and has personally dealt with many women with that. And like I said, is even engaged to a woman who personally went through that. She was very upset, very depressed. For a very long time when she had this, couldn't get out of bed, autoimmune, she had Hashimoto's, all of these different types of things. Then she gets those out and she just feels like $1,000,000. And so what I always tell people, I'll give you an example. There's a client, I've actually had a handful of these, but I'll give one practical example. There's a client who came to me with Cushing's, okay, which is basically in short term where you produce way too much cortisol. Okay. It can be viewed as an autoimmune. It can even come from a noma, where you have a tumor secreting hormone of cortisol or whatever. And this person also had autoimmune. They were having the skin issues that autoimmune carries and the gut and hormonal imbalances carry. Crazy low sex drive, so depressed, angry, weight loss resistance, total frustration, just a lot of stuff, right? And granted, their terrain, their environment was off due to marriage things within the home, no doubt. So this is causing, quite frankly, 80% of all of her issues. But she also started feeling like the breast implants she had were causing a lot of issues. So what I told her and what I tell anybody is, hey, listen, let's remove the obvious offenders. Like, we're trying to do everything else right, but yet there's obvious offenders that like may or may not be it. But why don't we remove those things? Because otherwise we're going to do all of these things, but meanwhile it could be as simple as just removing the obvious thing. You want to eat right, you want to go here, you want to go get that procedure, you want to get on these hormones, you want to start that medication, you want to start ice bathing, you want to start, like, you're trying to do 1,000,001 things rather than also just removing the obvious. So I always tell people, hey, why don't we just stop smoking cigarettes? And why don't we just stop doing the dip? Why don't we just stop doing like the things that we know could be causing the issues? And then if you still have the issues after we remove those things, then great. At least we know it's not that. And now we can tap further down the diagnostic checkoff list to see what it is causing your issues. But if we're going through 100 things and bending over backwards, meanwhile, we always have that. My thought is, hey, it could still just be this. And so it's like, we don't know because we're not removing the obvious. So I always say, remove the obvious stuff. Stop eating the processed food. If you notice that you feel like crap when you have that coffee, is it the coffee or is it just when you have that, it triggers something in you? We don't really know, but let's just remove the coffee for now. Let's just remove the breast implants. Let's remove all the obvious things. Let's remove obvious offenders. And if we remove obvious offenders, and like I said, you still have those issues, then I go, okay, great. Let me now look further down this and this, and we can start this supplementation or do this. But I don't want to just give that to you and make you spend this money and do this and do that and go down these rabbit trails when it's like, oh, it's something obvious. It's like somebody who has bad breath and they're like, hey, I've got bad breath and I don't know why. And I go, do you brush your teeth? They go, yeah. And I go, okay, do you floss? And they go, no. And yet they're trying to chew all the spearmint gum. They're using the mouthwash. They're trying to make sure that their gut microbiome is good because that will cause bad breath if you have H. pylori and all of that type of stuff. They're trying to do all of these other things. And I'm like, why don't we just floss maybe? What if you just have too much gunk in your gums that we need to remove? To where we're going down this huge rabbit trail, but we're not doing the obvious. And then it's, oh, wow, she flossed for 3 months and now her breath is so much better. It's number one, that was free of charge. You did not have to do anything or pay anybody to floss. That's just a lifestyle habit that you should be doing anyway. And we just figured out the tool. We don't need to take all these crazy probiotics. We don't need to do the GI map to go look at your gut. We don't need to like just do the obvious things and stop striving for all the fancy stuff. Like the breast implants in general, I always say, especially being a pastor and a doctor, I go, for what? Like, why? Why do you need it? It's vanity. You don't need the breast implants. That's not the way that essentially you were made. And if you need that to impress a guy or to keep a guy or to get that guy, you're going to need them to keep him too. And I think it's more a man's responsibility too to be like, hey, I love you for you. Why don't you go ahead and get these out? Because I want you to be healthy. There's so many things like with me and Erica that she'll say something and I'll like it. And I'm like somebody who kind of freaks out on stuff. So like the smallest things I freak out. Dog could get a scrape on her nose and I start freaking out. That's just how I am. But something could happen where I remember she started just saying, hey, my neck's hurting. And I said, hey, we need to get you to the chiropractor next week. Eric, I don't want you in pain. I don't want anything to happen to you. You know, this, that, and the other. If you really love your spouse, that should be how you are anyway, where you're like, hey, seeing you in pain literally kills me. It puts me in pain because we are one. I'm so connected to you. Like, I'm one with you that I just love you so much. And this just really hurts me. I think this is just part of men not being men. I think men are like little girls today. They don't take responsibility. They're vain. They don't know which way's up, which way's down. They don't know how to be manly on the outside, but sensitive in the secret place on the inside. And I think this is just part of being a man. And I think it's the reason for a big epidemic today with women. I know a lot of men that influence women to do that, to get their breasts bigger and to do this and to do that. And I'm like, you're inflaming your body, you're stressing your body, you're spending money in places that you don't need to be spending money on. Like, for what? I see it all the time. I just don't care whether it's silicone or non-silicone. I'm like, for what? You're just insecure. That's all it is. And I'm not pointing the finger at you being insecure. There's many things throughout my life that I've been insecure about. We all have insecurities that we trigger from and do certain things from and behave from. And so I'm not bashing that. But the thing that I am saying is that you've just got to be like, why? Why do I need that? You don't need that. For what? Like I said, you're putting your body through more hardship. You're just spending money in ways that you don't need to spend money. And it's just to satisfy some lust or pleasure or some insecurity and mask it. And that's where most people's health issues and problems come from anyway. Is I always say 98% of illness in the United States of America is self-inflicted. Your stress is generally self-inflicted. It's your need for more, the bigger home, to clean that, to make more money here, to spend money there, to impress people on social media here, to control everything and micromanage. Like, you don't need that. So I am not a fan of breast implants and silicone. And the moment that I get clients who have them, I immediately address it. The same thing with birth control. I'm against birth control completely, entirely. Somebody could say, for PCOS and endometriosis. No, then fix the freaking root like I do. I've reversed too many of those cases to sit there and put up with doctors' crap because of their wanting to go on birth control. It's raising up your SHBG. It's why your sex drive is low because now you have no estrogen binding to the receptors for estrogen receptor beta. It's raising up inflammatory responses within the body like CRP, causing more inflammation and autoimmunes. Like it's causing more damage than good. Yeah, you might get a temporary relief from X, Y, or Z, but over time it's causing a problem. So like I'm just against these things. I would rather fix the roots and then be satisfied with that way of thinking and that path of allowing the body to heal itself. So the same thing with breast implants. So if this is something that you have, somebody you know, then send them this podcast so that they can start to think about it. Do your own research. There's enough research on this to prove that fact. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that every person knows some people with breast implants that you can go talk to and get their stories and this, that, and the other. But the reality is, it's causing major issues and it's just fueling lust for certain areas that I just don't think are necessary. I think they cause more detriment than good, especially because I've just seen enough women struggle. Which, like I said, eventually I will have women on here telling their testimony so that you can hear in real time from them. But for now, you can just hear it from the practitioner that has done the work and studied these things and worked with people who fixed them and is engaged to somebody who personally went through it. So double think or rethink if you're trying to get those or somebody trying to get those, or consider getting them taken out. And in everything you do, question the reality of why. What's the driving factor? What's the influence here? What are you running from? What are you trying to hide? What insecurity are you trying to mask? And as you start to do that, I think that you will reevaluate probably 60%, 70% of all of your decisions, from the things you buy, the places you go, the stuff you post, and so forth. Who are you trying to impress? Let's get back to the garden where all we had, we were naked. We didn't have the jewelry. We didn't have the fake boobs. We didn't have any of those things. We were naked. We didn't need the expensive shoes. Our feet were in the ground. Like, let's come back to the humility and the simplicity of the life that God has designed for us so that our stress and expectations, our false expectations, can be broken down and just leveled before Him with integrity and honesty and true evaluation in the refiner's fire. So stay tuned for the next episode.